Hey gang, we're here with another episode of the Power of Nine podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Eggert. Today's guest has gone from military deployment to building a business, then back to deployment, and now he's building a couple of businesses that are disrupting their respective industries. This guy does not lack energy. I'm going to promise you that. We were just talking about his audio quality, and it is killer because his voice projects well. He brings it every single time. I saw him 2 nights ago, and he was working a room, and I loved every moment of that. Please welcome my friend, Joey Torkildson. Joey, welcome, brother.
Hey, Aaron, man, I am super pumped to be here, man. When you sent the invite, it's like, dude, I love you. I love C9. I love everything that you have rocking. So, dude, I'm just very grateful to be here, man.
Well, and I do this to amplify you and all of our members, and you're a guy that I can't wait to share with our listeners because I think you and I can jam a little bit and just freestyle this thing. So to me, it's all about having fun and telling a good story. You have a fascinating story, so let's dig into it a little bit. Before I get going here, I want to make sure and address your pronouns. Will you please share your pronouns with me now?
Yep, he, him.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for sharing those. All right, so so you are a product of the Twin Cities here. You grew up kind of on the east side, I grew up in the Hugo area. You grew up in New Brighton. Where'd you go to high school?
I was Irondale, graduated in 99. Yep.
All right, sweet. So talk to me a little bit about like your upbringing, like mom, dad, family components and things like that. What was the family makeup?
Yeah, super middle class, blue collar. My dad owned a small home remodeling business, and so I kind of just grew up in that. I have 3 brothers. We actually grew up in the house that my grandpa built, and then my dad bought it from him, and it was just your classic middle. I mean, I know it's so weird to say this, but it's like your classic middle class upbringing, right? My mom stayed at home, this is very kind of traditional. My dad, whatever traditional means, but very traditional of that era, I guess. And so it was pretty awesome. And then graduated and it was interesting because started out going to school right from going to college right from high school. And I vividly remember my dad giving me a little bit of money for college. And then when I asked for more, he's like, yeah, that's like all I'm giving you. And I'm like, oh, okay. And that was like the journey starting of like, man, I gotta get my stuff together, I guess.
Yeah. So where'd you go to college for a short period of time?
So I went to a community college. I started out at Anoka Ramsey Community College.
Oh yeah.
And it was cheap. Didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. So I was just like, hey, let's start it out there. And then when my dad had kind of cut me off from like money, I was like depressed, and not necessarily depressed, but I literally didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. Didn't have any money, and happened to the universe just decided to put a army recruiting sign that said like classic marketing, right? Like, we'll pay for your college, and I'm just like timing. And I literally rolled up in that recruiting station, 19 years old. I signed up I didn't talk to anybody. I went in, they like, obviously they smelled blood, and I signed up. And I remember I went home and told my mom like that day, I was like, hey mom, I need my birth certificate and like social security card. She's like, why? I'm like, I just joined the army. She's like, no, you didn't, Joseph. It's like, I was like, no, I signed up, like I'm in, and that was the start of my military career. And I did it, specifically for, pay for college. And that's how it all started.
So let's rewind a little bit. So that family dynamic you have, did you grow up with all your siblings being brothers?
Yeah, so 3 brothers. I got one older, he's 6 years older, and then 2 younger brothers.
Any other members of your family in the military?
No.
No? What?
No.
So that had to be a pretty big like culture shock for your family of you going or do you have military and extended family?
No, I think so. My uncle was my dad's brother was in the National Guard forever, and so maybe my dad wasn't too blown away by it. But it was, I would say it's a little bit of a culture shock, mostly because I didn't like discuss with my advisors, right? Like
right.
I'm not a good discussion with my advisors kind of person because I think that muddies up the water. and then next thing you know, you don't know what you're going to do and blah, blah, blah. So it's just like, hey, I'm just like doing this and let's go for it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you, so, you know, that your dad being in, you know, owning his own business and that whole family dynamic you have, one of the things I always like to talk about is the nature versus nurture dynamic. Right. And so some people as entrepreneurs or leaders are born that way. Some of them, it's just nurtured along because of their product of their environment or their upbringing. Where do you think you fall in that axis?
It's interesting because, you know, I think it's a little twofold because I think there is some nurture there in the sense of, I mean, I really did grow up with my dad always talking about, I mean, it's good and bad, but talking about like, hey, I gotta get to work. Like I'm just, you know, like very proactive and like, dude, I'm the breadwinner of the house. Like it's work. And it was like very focused on that all the time, almost ad nauseum. Right. Like, and I also think there was some bad stuff there as far as like, that's like all he did, you know? And so it was one of those things. Now the nurture or the nature side, here's the thing. I've ever since I was a kid, you know, in the Gallup Strengths Finder, okay, my number one is woo. All right. And anybody who is familiar with that is that like, hey, I just get excited about shit. Like I'm excited. And like, I've always been like that as a kid. So I think some of that nature side of me, I get excited. So like selling stuff is really easy for me because I just go like, oh, like I love this, but I love everything. So it's very, it's very easy for me to be like, oh, you got a new pencil? Dang, that thing is sweet. Right. And so that's where I think the nature comes in, but the nurture is definitely like, hey, guess what? It's all up to number one. Like, you know, meaning, hey, if you want to make something happen, get after it. And that's what my dad taught me inadvertently. I don't think my dad necessarily like had an intention of like, I'm going to teach my kids this. That's what he did. It all rubbed off on us.
Have you always had like a high level of energy that was just part of your DNA even when you were a little kid and stuff, to where you were always the outspoken, loud one that was like, all right, you know, you loved everything and you got a new pencil? That's awesome. Like, have you always been that way?
Yeah, in elementary school, I was, you know, I was on like the behavioral program where you have to like check in at the end of the day because you're kind of a shithead, and so like. Yeah. But here's what I'll say about that. I always make this very clear, or my mom does. I always got really, I really did not like I didn't excel in school, but I always did good in school. Meaning I wasn't on like the super crazy awesome classes, but I always did well. But I like to have a lot of fun, and fun comes with joking around. And like, I don't also like being told what to do. Meaning, you know, it's amazing. I've been in the Army for 22 years, seriously, because when people say like, oh, you gotta do this, I'm like, nah, we don't gotta do that. We're going to do this, you know? And so that doesn't obviously bode well in school. And so that's just, so as a kid, man, I don't know. I've been very grateful that I've been blessed with the ability to say, hey, I'm just enthusiastic about life overall.
I think you and I probably would have been really good friends if we grew up together, because you are 100% the same way that I was. Like I got thrown out of Spanish class and had to sit. I spent more time in the hallway of Spanish class in junior high and high school than I did in the classroom, because it was just, I was so sick of it and I didn't enjoy it. So I thought, well, screw it. I'm just going to have a ton of fun. But at the end of the day, I graduated, or I got B's in Spanish. Because it's not like I didn't pay attention. I just was having fun. So I 100% align with that. Everyone learns different ways, right?
For sure. For sure. Yeah.
Was so as you were growing up and stuff, were you a big athlete? I mean, you're in really good shape, and you know, anybody who you know, will share your info here at the end, but if they follow you on social or anything like that, you know, taking care of yourself and you know, both mental / physical wellness is a big part of your jam. So has it always been like that?
You know what? I was always, I I latch on to things. I wasn't a big sports guy in high school. I was a diver. So I did dive, you know, I did swimming and diving, and mostly diving. And then I actually, as a kid in high school, probably about, I think 9th grade, I got into Taekwondo, really latched onto that. So the way that I roll on the health side, at least, is like challenges. I love challenges. Right. And so I'll latch onto things and go, all right, I'm all in. Like if I'm going to latch onto something, I'm all in. So I did a variety of things in high school, not all sports, right? Just like I was really just into all different kinds of stuff. I've always been like that. But really it's interesting because my parents, I'm kind of grateful for this, but my parents never pushed any of me and my siblings into doing anything, which again, I think maybe good and bad, right? They never said like, oh, you're going to play hockey, you're going to whatever. It was more like, hey, what do you want to do? Like, do you want to do anything? No, I don't want to do anything. Oh, I want to snowboard. Okay, cool. Like they would help me get it, buy a snowboard. Okay, then we got into snowboarding and blah, blah, blah. You know, so that's what was kind of cool. Like they just like supported what we decided. But if we didn't decide anything, it's like, okay, that's fine.
So let's talk about the Army experience, because you alluded to the fact that are you still considered in the Army?
Well, as of this date, it's September 2nd, 2022. Yeah. I'm fully retiring October 1st of 2022, and I'll have 22 and a half years. And so I'm hanging up the Army hat in a couple of weeks.
All right. Well, let me just say, like, thank you so much for that level of dedication to that. And I don't think you could ever hear this enough, but thanks for your service, man. That is amazing, dude. So let's talk about this, right? So you go from I'm just going to sign up to be in the Army, like, you, like me, or a 19-year-old shithead, and I just happened to go a different direction, and you decided to go into the Army, which is obviously much better than what I did. And so I love the fact that you did that. However, when was the oh shit moment this got real, as you were starting to work your way through that transition process into the Army?
9/11. Yeah, 9/11. Well, because when I joined, think about this, dude. This is so funny. You're a naive kid. You join the reserves 1 week in a month, 2 weeks in the summer. Everybody's heard that. You're getting school paid for. Sweet. I had every intention at that point when I got out of basic training of becoming a firefighter. So I went back to a tech school to get my EMT, and I did get my EMT. And I was literally, talk about how things change. I was literally about to go take the test for like becoming a firefighter, right? Mm-hmm. And then the way that it all transpired, man, like 9/11 happened shortly after, because let's see here. Was 9/11 was 2001? Yeah. Or was it 2001? Yep. Yep. So I had just got like maybe been in the Army for like a year. 9/11 happened. And I remember my mom being like, what does this mean for you? And I'm like, shit, I don't know. Right. And then I'm kind of getting my stuff figured out. I'm about to go take the St. Paul firefighter test, right? Like get my life started, and I get deployed. Right. And then the Iraq war happened. And we get the call. And so it's like, wow, like what an interesting, like, 24 months of being like, oh, you have a plan? Bam. No. Yeah. Now here's your plan. Right. Yeah. We've got a new plan for you. So then where were you deployed to then due to 9/11? Iraq. So in 2003, we were deployed to the Middle East. Yep. To Iraq. And then what were you responsible for? So my job was a bridge crew member. So we built bridges. And so it's kind of a critical job, in the military. And the first deployment was interesting because we did a little bit of everything. I mean, we really did. Like, that's what the Army needed. Like, it was the beginning of the war. And so it was just kind of a little bit of a shit show, but I will say it was the most, looking back at it now, 22 years later or 20 years later, it was the biggest adventure I could have ever gone on as a human being. Like, I mean, it's the quintessential Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry Finn adventure when you're a young man of 21 or 22 years old, right? But also we lost 4 guys. So that was also a moment of like my first intimate touch with death as other than my grandparents and stuff like that. Like, one of the guys was in my team, and that was about 2 weeks before we came home. And so like, wow, I came home, dude, from that, like a completely different person. Yeah. Yeah.
trying to think about where to go with that and how deep I can go with that, because you said I could kind of go deep. So do you still feel the effects to this day of those experiences and the things that you saw? Because I think that's something that a lot of people talk about now, because but at the time people didn't really talk about it that much, right? Because it was just, everyone was trying to just get through it. Now, I think that mental health aspect of things, does that fuel you, or how do you manage through that, all of that experience?
Yeah.
Death included.
Yeah. I think luckily, I've worked through a lot of it. Luckily, I didn't hang on to it. I mean, I did hang on to it for a while, admittedly. And I've worked through a lot of it. I'm not afraid to go to therapy and work through some shit. I wasn't in the beginning though. I mean, it probably took me, probably 5 to 7 years of, kind of hanging on to it and just kind of trying to just energetically push through. And that was dumb. And so I worked through quite a bit. And then, and I had a second deployment in there, and that was probably a little bit even more stressful on me, but yeah, so yes, I guess the answer is work through it. And to be honest, man, like the death part does make me think like, wow, man, that taught me like, it can just be, that's it. Right. And we hear this, like, it's a cliche, but most cliches are true. Right. So when people say, oh, that's so cliche. Well, yeah, it is so cliche, but it's true. Right. And so like when people say like, oh, life is short, it's like, no, dude, it is short. And like, and it can go just like that. Right. And so that's probably what taught me real quick and really powerful, how fast that can happen.
Yeah, that's one question I always ask people is that, what's that paradigm shifting event or whatever? And I think it's just going to be different because it's just a collective series of events. It's just the whole experience of seeing and living in that whole environment that makes you realize how finite life is. And that has fueled you to just not take every day for granted and take some of these risks and things like that. So you were deployed, to kind of put a bow on the Army experience. You were deployed twice. Each deployment, how long were each of those deployments respectively?
They were both a year. So when I got back from the 2003 and 2004, I got back in 2004, and then I had a gap. And then in 2009, I was deployed again for another year to Iraq again.
All right. And what did you do in between those two deployments?
Well, I got back and started working with my dad, and so I got, that's the thing is there's the change. I was going to be a firefighter. I got back kind of like, again, here we go. I'm clueless again, right? Like, I mean, meaning my whole entire life has changed. What am I going to do? So from like 2004 to 2007, kind of got into the family business, right? And it was pretty awesome. That was probably the start of my entrepreneurial journey, because then my dad, him and I we almost killed each other. Right. And like, that was like, whatever. I love my dad, but just whatever, dude, you can't work with that man. I'm talking about, like, very difficult to work with. So in 2000, dude, he must've fired me 20 times. I must've quit 20 times. But in 2007, we had like a massive blow up, and I was like, see ya. And I had met my wife. And so we were kind of like, I remember coming home and being like, I quit with my dad. That's it. I'm done for real. I'm done. And she's like, what are we going to do? And I'm like, I have no idea. Right. Like I have dude, the most empowering feeling to do that. I will say, like, looking back at it, it was obviously kind of shitty at the time, but what an empowering feeling to be like, you know what? I don't know what we're going to do, but what we are going to do is figure it out. And that was when I started my first business doing the same thing. I said, hey, you know what? I know home remodeling. Screw it. I had like $3-4 grand in the bank. I spent it all. I bought a truck, bought some equipment, and just started hustling and talking to people. And next thing you know, I'm a business owner, dude. Like, here we go. Hiring guys, don't know what I'm doing and whatever. Right. Yeah. And then the 2009. So again, here we go. First business fail. All of a sudden, Army is like, hey, we ain't done with you. So, and then in 2009, just 2 years into starting the business, right? We're like, oh man, things are like working. I got some guys, like things are starting to happen. Got deployed again, right? Yeah. And so then laid all the guys off. I mean, basically that was it. The business is done, And so that was a little bit, that was just tough.
Hey, let's take a quick break and hear about a few of our supporters. The topic of talent is hot in organizations of any size, and I would argue none more than small to mid-sized businesses. That's why it's crucial to have a partner to help you navigate all the HR idiosyncrasies so you can focus on working on your business and not in it. Insperity is a full-service HR partner with a high-touch, high-tech platform helping owners work through challenges like employee retention, company culture, and benefits, just to name a few. Do yourself a favor and explore all they have to offer at insperity.com. Insperity, HR that makes a difference. Listen, people, everyone needs a bank. Not just any bank, a good community bank. From personal needs like checking and savings accounts to business services like financing and M&A support, the team at Flagship Bank is there to provide you with the assistance you need so you can spend less time thinking about your finances and more time enjoying what your money can do for you. To learn more, head over to flagshipbanks.com. That's flagshipbanks with an S.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. Flagship Bank, investing in you. If you're anything like me, you know enough to be dangerous when it comes to finance, yet need some help when things get complicated. All-in-One Accounting provides the right financial expertise and leadership to align with your stage of growth. From outsourced accounting and bookkeeping to strategic financial planning, the team of accounting rock stars at All-in-One Accounting are passionate about positively impacting the lives of their clients. Check them out at allinOneAccounting.com. All-in-One Accounting, taking our clients from financial chaos to business clarity and beyond. United Healthcare believes there's no limit to what care can do. UHC is continually focused on building a modern, high-performing health system via improved access, affordability, outcomes, and experiences. With a network of over 1.3 million care professionals and 6,500 hospitals and care facilities, United Healthcare is dedicated to connecting you to better health by offering quality benefits designed for affordability. Go to uhc.com for healthcare plans, resources, and more information. United Healthcare, helping people live healthier lives. Okay, back to the show. If you didn't get deployed that second time, do you think you'd still be doing that today?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
So then after that deployment, you came back. How come you didn't just pick right back up and do that again and continue with the remodeling thing? So if I'm doing the math right, I'm kind of thinking that you're coming back right around the 2008, 2009, which is, we were in a recession then. And so I'm guessing people weren't investing a lot of money into remodeling and things like that. So is that the reason why you didn't fire that business back up? Or
the 2009 deployment was pretty hard on me, stress wise. It was probably the most stressed I've ever been. I came home. I felt like I was in good shape. I looked like I was in good shape, but my body and my mind were it was in a tough spot. It was in a really tough spot. And, went to the doctor. Doctor said, "Hey, you checked out." And basically it was funny because the doctor said, "Hey, listen, like all your vitals are good." She goes, "Can you take a couple months off?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" And she's like, the amount of like cortisol and stress you have right now, I mean, it's like wound up, right? Just wound up real tight. And so I took about 2-3 months off. Awesome, right? Like, I'm just like, screw it. I'm gonna chill. And that was when it just kind of dawned on me. I was like, you know what? I'd always liked the sales part of the entrepreneurial journey. Here we go. Woo, right? Like I always loved like, oh, I want to just like sell stuff. This is so fun. But it dawned on me that I was like, you know what? Do I want to do the work? Right? Like, do I want to do the physical work of like manual labor? And then it was no. So just happened to fall into real estate. My wife brought it up. Super naive, dude. Super naive that we were in the worst real estate market ever. I didn't know that, Aaron. I didn't know that, man. Like, I'm just like, my wife's like, "Hey, what about real estate?" I'm like, "Yeah." Got my license, and like it was 2010 in the middle of the housing crash.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, "Oh, let's do some real estate." And all these agents I'm meeting are like, "This is like the worst time to get into real estate." And I'm like, "Why?" And they're like, where's your effing head? And I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. But now again, grateful that I joined then, because it was like, wow, I don't know what I don't know. So I'm just going to hustle my way through it. Right.
Right.
That's how it went.
Well, that's a good time to learn then too, because if, there's not enough movement, you're get to go to the school of hard knocks. Right. And then there's nowhere up from there.
100%.
So feel free to name names if you want or anything like that. So where'd you work? Did you work at the same firm? Did you jump around? Did you work for yourself? How did you do all that?
Yeah, I started at Edina Realty for about 4 years, and then left there, went to Keller Williams for about 6. But in that 6, about 4 years into the Keller Williams stint, I joined a big national team. And it was Hergenrother Realty Group at the time. I think they've changed their name to Livian. And so there was some change there, right? Like, it was pretty awesome. Like, you kind of grow, you go, okay, like, I'm figuring this out. Okay, I'm seeing some success. Let me change, figure something out. I've never been one that's adverse to change, because I know painstakingly that helps you so much. So as soon as I'm feeling like, oh man, like, I am really at a like stagnant point right now, like, although as I've gotten older, it's been tougher to change, I know that it's almost like I force it upon myself. So there was like 3 changes, in that 10-year span that really helped me grow, I think, as just a business owner and a sales agent.
Then the switch had to flip, because you're probably like, all right, I'm not doing this for anybody else anymore. I'm going to do it for myself. So is that when Voila was born, and you just started in, so you really set yourself up as being a disruptor, right? And you and I love that word, and I don't want to, right? You said cliche. That word can be very cliche, but it's true. So if you're trying to disrupt, I think entrepreneurs can go one of two ways, and I happen to go on the latter one of these two. So you can either create a brand new idea that's going to solve a problem and going to make the world a better place, and that's how you can start a business in that direction as an entrepreneur, or you can go and take an idea that's there and has been existing and just make it better, or do it different, right? So that and that's what I've done with Coalition 9. That's what you've done with Voila. Why?
Well, you know what? I think for me, it boiled down to a feeling. I always say that, dude, because here's the deal. Before we decided to leave the traditional engine, I had just got paid my biggest paycheck, literally, dude. And the reason I tell this story, the reason I think it's very important, and it was, a hefty sum, like 50 grand, right? Like from like one check, boom, 50 grand commission, boom. And I came home and let my wife know, like, so-and-so closed, got this commission check, she goes to high five me, and we're like, oh, this is great. And I was like, you know what? I'm not feeling this. I'm like, this is a problem. This is a serious problem. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I just got this check and I didn't earn that shit, and I'm like, this is a problem, and again, looking back, one of the most empowering feelings of because I knew right there, I literally knew, thank God, from my experience, that I was at a fork in the road right there. You just got paid, dude. You're a successful dude. I was killing it, man. Killing it. I'm walking away from all this. Literally had a team of 12. I just became staff I also became a salaried position on the group that I was a part of, the national group. So I was making commission there. I was making salary. I was just like killing it. Bye.
Yeah.
Like, literally, I was like, it was a feeling. It didn't feel good. That's what it boiled down to. I think the entrepreneurial journey sometimes is like, wait a second, wait. This doesn't feel good, dude. So then boom, I either go here and I'm going to keep going and I'm going to make a ton of money and I'm going to have this great life, supposedly, whatever. And I'm just going to keep going. Or I'm going to say, nope, this doesn't feel right. I'm going to burn this whole thing to the ground, disband the entire team, leave the salary position, leave the company I'm at, and start something new. And that's how Voila happened. And it really was like, hey, what are the pain points? Okay, I don't like this, and this about the industry. And I told my business partner, I'm doing this, dude. And he's like, I'm in. And my business partner is such a good friend of mine. And he's like, dude, I'm all in, let's go. And it's like, that's it. That's how it happened.
What is, so can you be a little specific on what this, and this is that you're looking to focus on? So what makes you different, and what's the things that you're really focused on changing?
Yeah. So right away, dude, it was simple. I just thought real estate sales was too expensive. That's it. Like, it's just too expensive for the consumer. It's ridiculous. It's almost disgustingly ridiculous. Like, and a lot of, I've had arguments with, agents about this all the time. But since I was this is what I love. I was a traditional agent for 10 years. So when I have arguments, I can be like, dude, don't argue with me. I was you. I know how much time you put into this shit. You know what I mean? Like, meaning, I can say that. Be like, for a listing, you put 5 hours, 10 hours into the listing, you get paid 20 grand. Who the hell thinks that's smart, right? Like, so anyways, so we thought too expensive. So we said percentage-based commission is dumb in real estate. So we said, we're going to go flat rate. So we said, hey, every single listing, whether it's a $200,000 house or a $2 million house, it's $5,000. It's it makes more sense. We do the same thing. It just is, it makes more sense. The other thing we did is we said we didn't like how much the consumers were restricted on their decisions. And it's hard to get too much into the weeds of this, but there was a lot of things that the traditional brokerages force sellers to do on how they handle the commission. It basically boils down to how they pay another brokerage when they do a transaction. We're like, dude, we're not doing that anymore. We're not doing that anymore. We're going to give sellers more choices, right? And it really ruffled a lot of feathers when we did this, because we were one of the only brokers, definitely in the Twin Cities, that said, nah, we're not going to do that, And then the other thing is we didn't like the 1099 contractor model. We're like, we think that's broken. I mean, there's some elements of it we thought were broken. So we're going to create a salary plus bonus model, right? Which we tweaked along the way because we screwed it up because we were inventing it. The first person we brought on, the first employee, we created the plan the night before. That's meaning somebody had reached out to us and said, hey, I like what you guys are doing. He was a RE/MAX agent. He's still with us. And we like wrote it up the night before. And like, we told him the morning of, I actually spit my coffee out. I was drinking coffee when we pitched this. And my business partner's like, we go to Caribou Coffee, and is like, yeah, we just made this up last night. And I'm like drinking coffee. I go, because we were just honest, dude. And then the guy who's with us, Wyatt, he looks at it. He's like, yeah, that sounds good. That makes sense. We're like, okay. So we also wanted to create a different compensation plan, which was also brand new. Like, no brokers do that. So we wanted to create a different culture other than the traditional 1099 dog eat dog, this bullshit that just whatever. We wanted to create a different culture. And those were like kind of the three main things.
What year was that? So let's just the timeline here. Let's reset where we're at. Where was it when you started? What year was it when you started Voila?
That was 2019.
And then, so starting you and your partner, is your partner, I think his name is James, right?
James Anderson.
Yep. Good dude. I met him. And, so fast forward to now, how many people you got?
So there's 8 of us. We're about to hit our 3-year anniversary. Mostly staying the same of what we've been doing. We had to tweak compensation a little bit, meaning make it a little bit more hybrid, kind of start people out a certain way, get them to a salaried plus bonus model. And I think our biggest issue in the 3 years basically has just been branding, right? Like, when I mean, dude, having 5-6 traditional brokers that have been around forever, they're national brands, man, that's a real thing to be like, hey, I'm Joey with Voila. Who the hell's Voila? Right? Like, versus if I say, oh, this is Joey with RE/MAX. Well, right away, shields come down. Oh, I know RE/MAX. I'm familiar with RE/MAX, right? So like, that's been our biggest journey of getting trust from consumers. They actually think our thing is a scam. Meaning they're like, nah, come on. It's too good to be true. We've had people hire traditional brokers. And when we ask them why, they're like, I don't know, it just seems too good to be true. We're like, you're spending $20,000 more because and we're not a scam. I mean, that's what's funny is like, we're not a scam. And I'm just like, oh man, that's how I knew it was a branding. Like, it's just a branding and a trust journey that we've been on for 3 years.
Well, that's why we do this podcast, brother, is because we got to tell the story, the real story behind it and all that other stuff. So like, and I think, right, it takes time to shift consumer mindset and to be able to tell that story. And it takes a while to build trust. And sometimes trust is built in brand. Use Apple, for example. They just look at that Apple logo and it just gives them that warm, fuzzy feeling. So you got to get to that point, and that's going to take a little bit of time. I mean, just looking at what you've done in such a short period of time, I can only imagine how bright the future is for you. What do you want to do? What does the future hold specifically for, I don't want to go into your other business that you're starting, but what do you think the future holds? Let's call it in the next 3 to 5 years for Voila.
Yeah, I think one of our core values is have faith and be patient, right? And I think what we're discovering is that we were in too much of a hurry. And meaning the first 6 months or a year, we're like, oh man, we got to be doing more. Why are we not doing more? And then it kind of dawned on us, like, what? I mean, and this is getting life deep, but like, why do we have to do more? Why do we have to do more? Why do we have to grow? Why are we going to grow just to grow? Dude, a lot of companies grow to just grow. I don't know about that. Like I don't know if I'm cool with that. Right.
Yeah.
And so I think probably about the last year's journey has been like, nah, you know what? Like stick to our core values, do good work. What does the future hold? Yeah. I mean, we're not so flippant to not have goals. But dude, I don't even know if there's one thing I've learned, especially from those 2 deployments, seriously, is like, dude, I don't know what the hell's going to happen tomorrow, man. So what I want to do is another cliche, here we go, but it's the truth. I really do want to enjoy the journey, right? And so we've grown organically. We want to keep growing organically. Dude, if we stay at 8 people and we do 150 transactions and we do it for 3 years straight, I'm not going to be worried about that. I'm just not. Do we want to make a bigger impact? Yeah, of course. Like we want to make an impact. We'd love to take some more market share from the traditional agents, mostly because we think a lot of consumers are dum-dums, meaning they're paying all this money. I don't want to say dum-dums, that sounds horrible. But I mean, meaning, they don't know, hey, there's such a better option. That's what fires us up. Like, I just want to interview with people that are interviewing traditional agents and be like, listen, I'm going to save you so much money. You're going to go on a Disney cruise. Okay. Next year, you're going to take the money, go on a Disney cruise and create some memories with your family. That's what's fun. Right. But as far as the grow just to grow, we have a hard time with that. So when you ask like, what's the goal, to be able to be like, oh, we're 30 agents in 3 years and we have X% market share. Dude, that doesn't excite me anymore. That used to excite me. That growth of like, that doesn't excite me anymore.
Well, I'm the quintessential dum-dum, right? Like I am the normal consumer. So when we bought our hobby farm 9 years ago or whatever, I didn't know any agents, and I that just wasn't my world. I've been all B2B all my life. And so a friend introduced me to a friend, and, we worked with Edina Realty, and obviously things have changed now because I know you and I know other people in different industries, but it's like, give me a break. Like, and that's how people hire their agents. Right? That's just how it works. And I think that's why for you to really double down on that branding and that storytelling around your why will make an impact. And I love the fact that you're being patient about it, because it is going to take a little bit of time.
That's right. And we know that. So, I love how you put that, dude. That's such a good way to put it. It's like, we're just going to keep telling the story, man. Like, we're just going to keep telling stories. We're going to keep living to our core values. Dude, companies I don't think companies do that well enough to look at their core values and go, okay, I'm going to live this way. Live this. Don't just say integrity. I haven't, I think of these core values of like integrity, perseverance. It's like, listen, okay, live them. Whatever they are, live them, and your business will make it if you live those core values. That's what our goal is on a day-to-day basis.
All right, we gotta jump to 9 questions soon, but I don't want to jump to 9 questions until we talk about your new business that you're starting. I'm intrigued by this because you told me you just mentioned it, and then it had the word sauna in it. I'm gonna say that I have a sauna in my basement. I have an infrared sauna in my basement, and I that thing is a winter go-to. And so what you're doing is taking that and you're taking it on the road, and it sounds amazing. Talk to me a little bit about what you're doing with that.
Yeah. So my wife and I decided a few months ago that we love saunas and I love cold plunge. I say I love cold plunge, but I mean, I love to hate it, or maybe I hate to love it. I don't know which one that is.
You love the effects that it has on your body. Let's just say that.
Yeah. I cold plunge every morning, dude. Like literally I get up, I'm in my underwear. I walk downstairs and I hop in the cold plunge for 5 minutes. And every time I do, I'm like, why am I doing this? But then afterwards I'm like, I feel great, whatever. And so but the other thing is we wanted to, the reason we wanted to do the mobile sauna is we like getting out and about, right? Like, I think it's a fascinating idea. And when we thought about it, we really love saunas and we're like, well, should we get one ourselves? And then we're like, well, wait a second. What if we did create a little business about this and say, hey, get a mobile sauna built, do some events, right? Like I'm excited. I think it's funny because my wife is more excited. Just we're renting it out. It's a mobile sauna rental business, of course, where people can rent it for events, for their cabin, for their house, if they don't have one and they want to get a sauna rocking or whatever, along with cold plunge, because we have a mobile cold plunge option so people can do both. I'm really excited to do events. Like that's just my jam. So I want to do events of saying, hey, like we're doing pop-up events. Like we're going to be at Lake Harriet, and here we go. Like come do a sauna and jump in the lake, right? Like, and kind of a paid event type of thing. I'm just excited to build a community around it. That's what I think is so key. With this second business, we realized the first check is we love saunas and cold plunge. Check. Okay, cool. Do we love people that love saunas and cold plunges? Yes. I've never been in a sauna. To be honest, I don't think I've ever been in a community sauna with a jerk. I mean, I know that sounds weird to say that, and that could be that is so anecdotal. There's no stats with this, but the community of people that do sauna and cold plunge, I just think I want to be more involved with, because what they do is they like getting uncomfortable, right? I want to get uncomfortable. And so to me, those are my people. So that's why, so then basically the company is called the Revival Sauna Company, launching in a few months, where the sauna is getting built as we speak. It should be done probably in the next 30 days. And so, yeah, we're just excited to get it going. And again, another don't know what we're doing, what I mean? Like, it's just like, what are we even doing, dude? But we're doing it, and we're excited about it.
Oh, that's what I love that. So, well, I'll let people, I'm going to have you share your stuff after we get done with 9 questions, so that it's the thing we cap this podcast off with, so that people know how to find you on that. Okay, here's a few more of our supporters. When you think of a typical CPA firm, you probably think of tax planning. Well, that just scratches the surface of what Boulay offers their clients. By providing smart, in-depth thinking from experts in accounting, audit, tax, and business consulting, they know what it takes to achieve financial success. Whether it's protecting your business, building your wealth, or securing your future, you can count on Boulay to go beyond addressing just financial matters and providing you with tailor-made, workable solutions. Learn about all they have to offer at BoulayGroup.com. Boulay, helping you get there. If you're an entrepreneur or married to one, you likely have a shared vision on your future, but there's uncertainty on how to get there. That's where the team at eWealth Partners comes in. They see you as a dynamic duo, and as fiduciaries, they're committed to helping dynamic duos like you design a financial plan that aligns and empowers you. Navigating the entrepreneurial journey shouldn't add stress to your relationship. It should be fun and exciting. Visit ewealthpartners.com to learn how they help couples like you plan for their financial future today. eWealth Partners, holistic financial planning for entrepreneurial couples. Investment advisor services offered through AdvisorNet Wealth Management. eWealth Partners and AdvisorNet Wealth Management are not affiliated. If you're a business owner wanting to save money on your overall real estate costs, I want you to give Carlson Partners a call. The team will help minimize your risk exposure and help you leverage the market to see maximized benefits to your next lease, purchase, or disposition. They've advocated and negotiated for hundreds of companies and saved millions of dollars in real estate expenses. With over 75 years of experience representing business owners, let them help you save time and money on your next real estate negotiation. Visit carlsonpartnersllc.com to learn more. Regardless if you're a startup just figuring things out or a medium-sized organization with a full team, having a legal partner by your side is crucial. Seiler Law is fiercely loyal to their clients and are passionate about removing headaches and roadblocks that can pop up during the growth of your business. Whether you need general outside counsel, are planning a business transaction, or even need someone to help guide you through the estate planning process, the team at Seiler Law are the advocates for you. Visit seilerlaw.com to learn more.
Seiler Law, where experience meets pragmatism. And back to the show.
All right, let's transition to 9 questions. Can you confirm to me that you have no idea what I'm about to ask you?
I can confirm. I have zero clue.
Good. Oh, hey, before we get into 9 questions, can you tell me a little bit about your family now? So how many kids you got and stuff like that? That's one thing that I had in the back of my mind. And so before we do 9 questions, talk to me about your wife and your kids.
Yeah, my wife Kendall, she's a kitchen and bath designer, and we've been married for about 15 years. I met her after my 2003 deployment. My best friend I met at the deployment, right? And me and him just hit it off. Dave O'Connor, love the dude. Well, he was best friends with my wife, right? And so then when I came home, I had a girlfriend, met my wife, and I was like, bye, girlfriend. You know what I mean? Like, I know that sounds horrible, but I was like, bye, girlfriend. Okay, and pursued Kendall and whatever. And then we have 2 boys, 8 and 11, 8-year-olds Lennon and 11-year-olds Mason.
Sweet. Are your kids like you or like your wife?
One, I love that. One is probably like my wife, and one is like me. So we get the mix, man. It's a big shit show over here at the Torkildson residence at all times.
Yeah, I can only imagine. It's probably going to be like fast forward how you and your dad butted heads all the time, and the kid that's just like you, it's going to be a complete shit show. You know what?
I gotta say this real quick. My son, the reason we started in July, I was like, oh no, here's what happened. He mowed the lawn. It was hot as hell. He came in, he was super sweaty, my 11-year-old. And he goes, oh, I'm gonna take a freezing cold shower. I'm like, do it. Anyways, I hear him in there. He's taking a cold shower. He's going like that. And he comes out and he's like, this was like June 29th. He goes, Dad, you know what? I think we should do a challenge. July only cold showers. And you know what I thought? I'm like, this is my son. I did this to him. And I was like, I can't not take the challenge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like, so I thought about it for 5 minutes, and I was like, dude, I got to take this challenge. And so I took it, and we did, and we did it, and it was awesome. And we did a little fun thing afterwards. But I thought, oh man, my son saw me over the years doing challenges and all these fun things. And now here he is challenging me. And I'm like, now it's beginning. So,
and so it begins.
Yep.
All right. We'll do the 9 questions thing. All right. Question 1. What was the first CD you ever purchased?
Ooh, I know that right away, baby. I think this would have been like 1997, maybe 96. Collective Soul's first album.
Yeah.
Whatever it was. I think it was Hints. Actually, I know it because it's a weird name. Hints, Allegations, and Things Left Unsaid. Collective Soul.
100%. Yep.
Yeah.
Great. I have that CD in my basement right now. Great CD.
Hell yeah.
Right. Close your eyes. What is your favorite sound?
I love the sound of a meditation bell.
What? Why? You can open your eyes now.
Open my eyes. I was gonna say. A friend of mine about 2-3 years ago brought it to a guys retreat we were on, and what it is anytime anybody rang the bell, you had to stop what you were doing, and just whatever it was, you just stop for however long the bell is ringing. I mean, and it was a real bell. I mean, it was a real meditation bell, and it had a little thing, and I just love that sound because I think it's such a good reminder to stop and just go, hey, what are you doing? Just stop it and be present. So
live in the present. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. I love it. What is a guilty pleasure that you indulge in?
Oh man, dude, this is tough because right now I'm 29 days from doing my first bodybuilding show. My coach just dropped my carbs 15 grams today, and I'm fucking devastated about it. Like, seriously. So anyways, this is a funny mode that you're like asking this question. I can crush some either ice cream or chips and guac. And so, dude, right now, if that stuff is by me, I literally have to either slap it out of the people's hand. Like if somebody came up to me, like a chip and a guac and was like, you want some? I literally have to be like, get that out of my, and go the opposite way because my brain is in starve mode and like it can't even control it. So chips and guac, ice cream.
Well, I've known you now for about a year, and I'll tell you, I saw you the other night, and like you look almost like another person. Like you're just cut, and you can tell you've been spending a lot of time on this. So whatever you got going on underneath that shirt you have going on, and what you're going to be showing people here in the next month is you've clearly been spending a lot of time on it. So
40 pounds, man. I'm 40 pounds less. I'm basically back to the weight of when, I kid you not, dude, 15 years old.
Oh my God.
The weirdest thing.
Yeah. All right. This will be a good one. Share 3 words that describe you.
Annoying. I know. I just, because that, whatever. We need explanation.
Yeah.
Enthusiastic and fun.
There we go. Well said. We don't even need to talk about that anymore.
No explanation.
No, just leave it right there. What is the last gift that you received?
Oh man, what was it? Oh, you know what? Actually, I mean, I think this is it. And it's actually it's pretty funny. My wife got me like 3 pairs of shorts because none of my clothes, like literally, I look funny in my old clothes. Like seriously, I was like tightening belt, making new. So she got me like 3 pairs of like normal shorts for me. So it was awesome.
So she went from adult medium to child size large.
Dude, you know what? It's funny because I was like a large, and now like I'm actually toying around with smalls, and I'm like, this is not healthy.
It's crazy. Seriously, I saw you the other day. My mind was boggled. Would you rather go? So I'm trying to put would you rather questions in there because I think they're fun, and I don't want to do any weird, gross ones. But so I'm trying to get a little philosophical on you. Would you rather go into the past and meet your ancestors, or go into the future and meet your great-grandchildren?
Oh my gosh, dude, that is such a good question. Yeah, I think I'd want to go into the future to meet the grandchildren.
Got it.
Great-grandchildren.
Yeah, got it. What is your favorite holiday tradition?
Oh man, I think I really enjoy Christmas Eve, because Christmas Eve is probably the most chill day, right? Like just family hanging out, just like being super present, watching, we always watch a holiday movie. We always open a gift, there might be just I don't know. It's just so chill, dude. And it's just like probably the most relaxed I am throughout the year. Like where I'm just kind of like, hey, I'm just going to allow this day to just kind of unfold. And I think it's a really fun day.
Awesome. What is the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
The first thing that pops into my head, well, 2 things. I'll just say 2 things because I think they kind of go hand in hand. Never give up, cliche, but it's just kind of never give up. Keep going. And I do remember I called a mentor of mine. This one was probably a little bit better, but I called a mentor of mine, and he had just gotten a car accident, literally right then and there. Like, I mean, he's like, I'm on the side of the road. I just got in a car accident. I'm like, oh, dude, are you okay? He's like, well, the car's completely totaled. I'm okay. We're waiting for the cops. And then he says this. I go, dude, I'm so glad you're okay. He goes, next. I'm like, what? What did you say? He goes, next. Like, moving on. Like, it happened. Like, I'm literally moving on. And I'm like, dude, that was like 12, 13 years ago. And when he said that, it has always stuck with me to be like, dude, don't hang on too tightly to basically anything. Something happens, handle it, move on. Next.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next, last question. We've hammered through these. How do you define success?
I think if you're living, laughing, and loving, I really do. I think if you're living, laughing, and loving, you're successful, dude. I don't think it has anything to do with anything other than those three things. And probably the laughing and loving more than the living, because I think living's just automatic if you're above ground. But if you're laughing and loving, I don't really care what you're doing. I think it's you've won at life. Like, I almost want to tell people that when they're laughing, like, oh, you've won. Oh, you're loving. You have a lot of love in your life. You have people that love you, and you love lots of people. You won. That's it.
You know what I love about this podcast is that I ask that question occasionally, and I don't think anybody, well, I know nobody has ever had anything to do with financial metrics or anything like that. Yeah. And you 100% align with that. And, you know, since I've met you and we were introduced by a mutual friend, James Olson, and we hit it off right off the bat because I think you dropped an F-bomb and I dropped an F-bomb, and then we kind of ran from there. So we knew we had that in common. I got to tell you, man, like your energy is so great. You're so great to have as a part of our community. Your group absolutely loves you because you bring it every single time, and it just lifts up the energy in the group and our community as a whole. And, you know, I hope more people use this podcast as a point of reference for the great things that you're doing as a disruptor in the residential real estate world. And know that it's not a scam, and know that it's not too good to be true, because you're making some really great sacrifices, and more people need to know your story. So I'm going to do everything I can to amplify that. Will you please share with me ways that people can get a hold of you, you know, your website address, social stuff, email, whatever you want to share, your cell phone number? I could give two shits what you share. Yeah. Just anything goes.
Yeah. And, you know, I mean, on the real estate side of things, it's Voila, It's Sold, VOA. People screw that up, dude. I mean, meaning that's why I got to spell this thing, because people screw up Voila a lot. But anyways, Voila, It's Sold. So VOILAITSOLD. So VoilaItSold.com. That's our real estate website. You know, and most of my handles are Joey Tork 1. So my Instagram handle. And dude, I've been rocking out, man. I'm TikToking. Get out of my way. I've been starting to TikTok, and I'm liking it. I think I'm going to get some more telling the story in there. And I think that handles the same as the Joey Tork 1. And yeah, and so those are probably the easiest ways. Oh, you know what? Whatever, dude. 651-210-1038. A buddy of mine made a song back in like 2004, and he's literally like 210-1038. Oh baby, 210. And dude, so my phone number around like my household, that's what it is. 651-210-1038. Whatever.
There you go. And that's, people can text you and get to know you. And I can say firsthand that you're not going to get tired of you, man. Like, I love spending time with you. It's always great to see you. I'm so excited to share this podcast with our guests. I'm so pumped that you're part of our community.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it, man. Love it.
Thanks, brother. All right. On behalf of Joey Torkildson, this has been the Power of 9 podcast. I am your host, Aaron Eggert, and I want to thank you for the privilege of your time.